Hi everyone, I'm Nicole. This is actually my very first YouTube video. I kind of got inspired by reading and hearing about the BookTube-A-Thon and that there's going to be video challenges, stuff like that, so I thought that this would be kind of a fun added thing to do along with the reading challenges. I'm really excited about this. This is actually the first one that I am participating in. I have only been watching YouTube videos, or BookTube YouTube videos, for a little over a year now. This is the first that I have heard of this, and this is the perfect time to actually for me to do something like this because I normally do a lot more reading during the summer. I'm very busy, especially during the school year. I have 2 kids. I also work and go to school myself, so I just don't get a lot of reading done except during the summer. So anything that kind of motivates me or inspires me to read more is pretty awesome, I think. So let's just get started. My first book, book with yellow in the cover, and this is actually an author that I have loved since I was a little kid. I used to read her books all the time. It's Anne McCaffrey. It is one of her Pern adventures. I've read a lot of them when I was younger. I don't remember all of them, so hopefully I won't be too confused. But I know I have not read this one. It's Narilka's story. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a pretty thin book. I think I'll less than 100, a little over 100 pages. So I think I should be able to read that pretty easily. The next book is a book that you can only read after sundown. And actually that's probably one of the easiest challenges for me, just because that's when I do most of my reading. Like I said, I am constantly busy, on the go, doing things during the day, so the only time I really get to myself to sit down and read or do something like this is at night when the kids are in bed and everything's quiet. So the book I have picked for that is Jim Butcher's Blood Rights. This is the 5th or 6th one in his series. I'm really enjoying it so far. I love paranormal, urban fantasy, those kind of books, and I really think that he brings something new to the genre. He brings something new to the genre. They're just fun, easy reads. They got short chapters. They're funny, but they're filled with action and really engage you. So I'm actually kind of cheating a little bit with this book because I have started reading it. I actually picked it up at the library last week before I knew that this was going on, but I'm only a few chapters in, so hopefully I can get that finished this week. Next book is a book that YouTube or BookTube inspired you to get. I heard about this book watching a video, and I can't even completely remember what it's about, but it sounded really cool. I added it to my Goodreads, and then I was at Barnes & Noble actually to pick a different book, which is in my TBR, and I'll tell you in a second. But when I was looking, I saw this, and I was like, oh, I remember hearing about this in the video, and it sounded really cool, and it's got such a beautiful cover. I am definitely a sucker for covers, but it is The Dead and the Gone by Susan Beth Pfeffer. I think that's how you say that. I mean, look at that. It's just such a cool, I love the shiny green and the moon and the texture. But it's kind of a little book. I mean, it's a few hundred pages, but I don't think it'll be too hard to read. Hopefully I can get started on that. The next book I chose, it was a book by one of your favorite authors. That was a hard one for me. I have a lot of authors that I really enjoy reading. Usually my favorite authors, though, I've read all of the books, so I really didn't want to do a reread for this. But I did find a book that I had not read before that is kind of short, probably won't take too long. Not sure if you can see, but I have a bunch of his books up on the top of that bookshelf. It is Neil Gaiman, and not only is he one of my favorite authors, he writes just such incredibly moving books that kind of really stay with you after you read them for a long time and really make you think. But he's a cool guy. I met him at a book signing, and The bunch of those books are actually signed by him, and he was soft-spoken and sweet and just really, really awesome to meet. But the book that I'm going to read for this is Coraline, which I mostly read as adult books, so I haven't read this one yet. But it's a smaller book because it's a kid's book, so hopefully it should be kind of a quick read. And he actually did, this is my daughter's book, actually. I'm borrowing it from her, but he actually signed this one. It's my daughter Madison. And then he drew this little rat. He actually asked her, do you want a happy rat or a sad rat? She picked a happy rat, and I just thought that was really cool. And I might actually be able to use this for one of the other challenges if I don't do the other one. But it's also obviously a movie as well, so I can read this and watch the movie. We'll see. But the book that I actually chose for that challenge is The Scorched Trials by James Dashner. Hopefully I'll be able to do this one because I really, really love this book. Sorry, I haven't read the book. I really, really love the movie. It's kind of funny, but usually when books are made into movies, I always want to read the book first, because obviously the book is 9 times out of 10 going to be better than the movie, so I want to have that in my mind first. But when I saw previews for The Maze Runner coming out, I had never heard of the books. I saw the previews, they looked really cool, and not only that, but Dylan O'Brien, I'm a big fan of his. You know, I love him on Teen Wolf. I think he's a great actor, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, I have to go watch that. It was coming out, I watched it right away, and I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie. I thought they did a great job. So like a couple days later, I went out, picked up the book, read the book within a couple days as well. It was kind of a fast read for me, but I really, really enjoyed the book, even though parts of it were different. I understand why they did some things kind of differently, but I really enjoyed both for what they were. And then, so right after I read that, I ended up picking up this book. This was the book that I was looking for when I ended up seeing this one again and grabbing that. But I figured, oh, you know, I'll read this before I end up watching the next movie, and I'll kind of do it that way. But things got crazy. I didn't have a chance to read it, and when the movie came out, I was like, I can't wait. I went out and actually bought it. I already had bought the first movie after I watched it, and you know, I watched that right away. But I still have had the book, been wanting to read it. This is my chance, hopefully now, to read it and then rewatch the movie again and then compare the two, because I love comparing books to movies, how they're same, how they're different, which did this better kind of thing. So I think that will be fun. Hopefully I can get that done. And then the second to last challenge is to read a book older than you are. This was a little harder as well. Most of the books I have a lot of books, but they're mostly newer books, or at least within like the last decade or so. I don't have too many books that were made before I was born, but I did find this one that I had. I picked it up at a little, our library has like little book sales sometimes, and I get a lot of either free or really cheap books that way. And I picked this one up, and people rave about it, so I'm really, really curious to read this. But it's Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. It's also pretty short, less than 200 pages, so hopefully I can get this done as well. I'm trying to pick some smaller books just so I can get more read. And then the last challenge was to just reading 7 books. So what I thought I would do, since I already have so much and I really don't think I'm going to get them read anyway, is I wanted to pick something I could easily read. And I grabbed a graphic novel. I don't read a lot of graphic novels, I'm starting to get a little bit more into them, but I do have several that I really like. And this one I've been wanting to read. It is based off of the TV show Firefly and then the subsequent movie Serenity that came after it. But it's Serenity's Those Left Behind. And I only watched Firefly for the first time. I only watched Firefly for the first time maybe 2 years ago, and I've watched it several times. I've watched the movie several times. Huge fan of it. Obviously, like anybody who's watched it, very disappointed that it got canceled after one season. There was still so many more stories. Really wanted to get to know the characters more, so I thought that this would be something really cool to read, to kind of delve into what happens after all those ended. And obviously it's mostly pictures, there's some dialogue, it's even smaller than probably even some of the other graphic novels I've read, so that one I could easily read in one sitting. So hopefully I can get at least several books read this week, do some challenges. I think that would be fun, and just kind of get me inspired to read as much as I can, maybe read some things that I might not have read otherwise, or have been sitting on my shelves forever, like, oh, I'm going to read that, but then I go out and buy more books, and then I go to the library and pick up more books, and you know how it is. So let's see if I can get some of these read, okay? And I will see you in my next video, updating you on my progress, and maybe do some challenge videos as well. And